Today we're going to create a simple order entry application. What are some of the fields that we'd like to capture in an order entry application? One of the first field that I would like to capture is date of the order. Again, we're creating everything in Excel. We're creating the entire order entry form in Excel with my formulas and everything, and then we'll turn it into a web application on SpreadsheetWEB. The next information that I'd like to capture is the customer name and customer address, zip code, city, and state. Remember, we always create name ranges for our input fields. So this would be date. But there's also an easier way. There's an Excel trick that you can simply select this range, go to the formula, create from selection, select where the names for the name ranges are located, and in my case it's the left column. So basically I want to set everything in column A to cells in column B as my names. When I hit that, you can see now this one is date, customer, address, zip, city, and state. So that's a very simple Excel trick. So now that I capture the general input fields, let's enter our order page. So I would like to capture item, and item meaning that the type of product or service that you're selling. Count, how many of that the order includes, the price, and the total. The price and total will be formulas. So essentially what I would like to do, I would like to have, let's say, up to 10 orders, 10 items in a single order. So let's go all the way to 10. So the user would enter the item and the count, and the price will be calculated and total will be calculated. How is it going to be calculated? That's the question. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a product list. Obviously every company has a product list and their prices, right? This one is going to be very simple. So I'm going to create let's say item 01, item 02. Let's say we have 20 items that we're selling, and then I'm going to put some prices, some random prices. So I'm going to use, instead of entering them one by one, I'm going to use a random formula. Let's say my products vary from 100 to 1000. Again, obviously you will have specific prices for your products. This is just for me to create a price list. So I'm going to replace it with paste special so that it doesn't get updated each time I trigger calculations. So I'm going to call this items. Okay, so here and here I'm going to call this products. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a data validation here, list, and this is my list. Okay, so this way this will be a drop down. The user can select whichever item from the list. Let's copy this down so that all 10 fields, item column, has this information. Now this is the count. Again, the user will enter the count information here. Let's calculate, let's get the price from a given item. Remember, we have this list, the price list. So it's going to be a simple view lookup formula. View lookup value is here, and the table is items. And I'm going to grab the second column from there, and I want the exact match. Let's test. Okay, here we go. So everything works. Copy it down. Don't worry about the NAs. Actually, we can create a simple formula. If error, like NA error, I want it to show nothing. Okay, that should take care of the NAs. And finally, we need to calculate the total. Total is going to be simply count times the price. Simple. Okay, again, we want to get rid of the value errors, so I'm going to use the if error formula. If error, then show blank. There we go. Okay, so these are our totals. Now let's create an order total here. Let's call this order total, and we basically sum. Sorry, wanted to create it here. Okay, here we go. Sum all totals. Okay, and another important item here is the tax calculation. So we'll call this tax. Let's assume that our tax is 6%, right? So I'm going to take this and multiply this by 0.06. So that's our tax. We can also add another field called discount. A lot of times, there could be some discount applied, by the salesperson. So let's add discount here. And then total due. All right, what total due is this plus tax minus discount. Now keep in mind, you can always create rules for discount. Let's say if the order total is more than certain value, like apply 5% discount. Otherwise, apply, if it's more than another value, 10% discount. So you can do all these complex discount calculations, but we'll keep it simple. We'll just keep it as an input for the time being. Again, it's very important to create name ranges for these guys. So I'm going to use the same trick. Go to formulas, create from selection, left column, apply. Okay, order total, tax, discount, and total due. And don't forget to select the grid. So I'm going to call this items. Let's call this orders instead. Okay. All right. I think we are ready with our simple order entry application. Now let's go ahead and save it, and we'll switch to our web interface. Here is our web interface. Let's log in. Right. Now what I'm going to do in the web interface is to create the application based on the Excel workbook that I just created. It's going to be a very quick process. The first thing you're going to do is to click create application, select designer, hit next, drag and drop that Excel file that we just created. That's the order entry file. Let me find that. Here it is, order entry. Hit next. Let's associate that with demo group. Uploading the file. Now we can go and create our application. Application creation is through the user interface first. We're going to create the user interface by dragging and dropping our controls. Let's drop a section. So what are the controls that we have? Remember, we have the date field. So I would like a calendar control for the date field. So I can drag and drop them one by one. But remember, there's a trick also in SpreadsheetWEB that I can capture all of the name ranges from the file. I simply go to populate controls from worksheet, select the worksheet that I want to grab all the name ranges, and hit generate. So it will grab all the name ranges from that worksheet and create the appropriate fields. Here they are. So what I would like to do, just shift them around a little bit. Remember the date, I'd like the date to be on top, and customer name, address, city. I want to put zip code here, state here. Okay, and city, let's leave city there. I don't need this name range, so I can simply delete it. So this is actually my grid. Let's go to our grid, make sure everything is in place. We have the item, we have the count, but I want to make sure that the item has a mask type of lists. So we're going to select it from the list of products. Okay, hit submit. Count, I want to make sure that the count is of integer type. User cannot enter anything but an integer there. We have the price field. Let's make sure that the price is formatted properly. The mask type is currency, and it's not editable because it has formulas. Submit. And total is also currency. Hit submit and hit submit. So our table is ready. The next thing I would like to add is things like order total. Let's drag and drop. Because they're formula fields, our name range population feature didn't grab them, so we're going to have to do it manually. So order total, hit OK. Next one is text. Again, we're going to drag and drop a text box here, select the name range, text, hit OK. We have the discount, but remember discount was actual input, so I'm going to move discount right after tax. And finally we have the total due right here, and hit OK. So it looks like our application is ready. One other change I'd like to make here is date field. I want to change it from text, so I'm going to delete this and make it a calendar. It's going to be much easier to select a date field from a calendar. Date. And also want to change the format to US short date. Okay, all right, here it is. Let's have a quick look at the preview, see how the application will look and feel. Okay, here it is. Came with the defaults that I entered, but that's okay. I can simply change it. Let's say 4 of this. Okay, 4 items. All right, calculation is done. Let's add another one. Item 6 to count. Okay, calculations are done. I can apply a discount of, let's say, $100. Okay, perfect. Everything is working as expected. Now, this is the user interface. The next thing we're going to do is to create a database so that we can store order entries in a database that we can retrieve it later. So let's close this, go to our database module, add new, call this orders, create a database, edit the database. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly grab used columns in the user interface. So what it's going to do, it's going to go through every input control and grab their information and ask me if I want to change anything. Starting with address, string, keep it as string. City, keep it as is. Customer name. Discount, I know that discount is a decimal field, so I'm going to change it to decimal. State is a string. Zip code, I'll leave it as string. Order total, decimal. Tax, decimal. Total due, decimal. Date time. Okay, so we are done. So we grab all of the input fields. Now next we're going to create a database table for the grid. So I'm going to hit add. I'm going to call this items. Remember that one is a table, so it's a one-to-many table. Create database. Select a name range. Our name range was I believe it was orders. Right, yep, orders. Has header. Next. Okay, item is string. Count is integer. Price is decimal. And total is decimal. Hit finish. Okay, so we have the second table. Now I can go back to my user interface, add a button to save the data. From actions, I'm going to drag and drop a button here. I'll say change it to save and associate this with save event and hit submit. So the application is ready. So let's go ahead and publish it and do a quick test. Okay, the application is published and it's called order entry. Click order entry. This is the unique URL. If you want to share it with your sales folks, you can simply grab it from this URL and email the URL. They'll be able to access the application. So let's create an order for today. Let's call this customer 101 Main Street 02130 Massachusetts City, Boston. Okay, so let's enter a couple of orders here. Item 4, let's say 5 of that. Item 6, 2 of that. And let's add another item 7 and 4 of that. Okay, here we go. Let's apply a discount of $500 to this order. Okay, calculate it and hit save. Now this order is in the system. How do you get to that order? Easy. Go back to the control panel under your account, find the application and click on the view data button to see the order that has just been submitted. Okay, so let's change the columns here. Instead of address field, I want to show the customer name, and if I hit save, okay, all right, customer 1. So it's going to be easier to differentiate because you're going to have multiple orders here. It's going to be much easier to differentiate them by the customer name. All right, so that is it with the application. We have the user interface, web-based interface. We have ability to save orders. But typically in order entry process, there is a creation of, let's say, an invoice document. How can we create an actual document, not a sort of a printout from the web interface, but an actual sort of PDF doc? In order to create a PDF document, we need to do two things. First, we need to create a template, a document template in Word. Here's a simple template that I put together. As you can see, this is a completely static table. There are no dynamic fields. So what I mean by dynamic fields is that anything that I want to populate from the application, like date, like quantities, item names, unit prices, and amounts, has to be entered into the this template. The way we do that is we have a very simple way of using double curly brackets like this and typing the name range. Now the name range date, I'm going to bring the Excel workbook here. Here's our Excel workbook. Let me reduce the size a little bit. Remember, we have a name range called date, so that's our dynamic field. In the application, when a document is generated, date name range will be populated into this section. Anything inside double curly brackets is dynamic. Customer, remember we have a field called customer. We can put address, we can put state, city, and the zip code here. Also, we need to add quantity, description, unit price, and amount. But in order to do that, we need to make a little bit of change in the underlying Excel workbook because we don't have individual quantity, item, unit price, and amount fields defined as names. So we need to do that. I've actually already done that. If I go back to the Excel workbook, you see that now the first row is item 1. You can see it here. Second one is item 2, item 3, item 4. Here we have count 1, count 2, count 3, and so on and so forth. So that way we create name ranges, because name ranges are extremely important. The way the software communicates with the templates, whether it's an Excel template or a Word template, is through name ranges. Let me bring up the completed template. Alright, here's the completed template where all name ranges, dynamic ranges, everything inside double curly brackets are inserted into the template. So once we're done with this, we can save it, and the next step is to upload it to the system. Once the Excel file is updated, the next step is to create a print process. Hit print. We're going to add a new print process, which will make it, which will associate with the Word document that we just created. Let's call this invoice. File name, I'm going to call file name invoice2. So that's going to be every time an invoice is created, the file name is going to be invoice.pdf. So I want to create a PDF document. Create print process. So go to the documents, and I'm going to add a Word template. Remember, I am adding the Word template that I just created. So I'm going to drag and drop that file that I had just created here. And I'm going to give it a name, let's say invoice1. Okay. Create document. Next thing we need to do is to match the document stubs. What document stubs are basically the all those names inside double curly brackets. We're going to match them with the name range in the Excel workbook. But SpreadsheetWEB does that for you. If the names are matching, it will match everything for you. You can see that I'm going to enable all of them, date to date, customer to customer, address to address. So pretty much all of them are matched because they all have the same name ranges as in the Excel workbook. You can also set formatting. remember, we have the date field. I don't want the date field to come as string. I want to be a date time, and these are the date options, date formatting options. So it will automatically, SpreadsheetWEB will format the data before populating it into the Word document. So this is the format that I would like. Similarly, let's say price. I don't want the price to appear as string. I want it to be nicely formatted, a decimal number, and I want it to be in dollar format. So essentially go through all of the changes that you'd like to make here, and when it's done, and I'm going to quickly make that. As you see, all the changes are made. Hit update. Okay, this way our document is updated. So now I'm going to go back to the user interface. Now I can create another button and associate that button with document generation, generating an invoice document. But I can associate that particular event, print event, with the same button that we already have. So associating print event with the button and hit submit. So that means that every time save button is pressed, it will not only save the data into the database, but it will also generate a PDF document. Now let's go ahead and publish this. Let's go ahead and create a new order entry. Click on the application link. Enter a date, customer 2, 600 Main Street, 2130, Massachusetts, Boston, and item 2, so order 4 of that, item 5, 2 of that. Okay. Calculations are done. Let's apply a discount and hit save. Now what's happening is that when I hit save, the record is saved in the database. So that's one thing happening. The next thing happening is that a document is being downloaded. Let's change our pop-up blocker and hit save again. Okay, a record is saved, an invoice document is generated, and here is the invoice document. We have the date information properly populated, customer information, and the orders, as well as every other item, subtotal, tax, discount, and total due. So this means that we can create not only an order entry form that we can capture information, we can capture orders from the users, save them in a database, but at the same time can create a printable or storable PDF document as an invoice. I hope you enjoyed our presentation. Thanks for watching.